All right, Al. I'll let you take this one, man. We're gonna take a look ahead. What do we have coming up?
Yeah, so how do we not talk about UFC 259? How do we not talk about this absolutely insane card where like the preliminary card could be a pay-per-view? Like it's absolutely insane. And then, it all gets it all leads up to one of the biggest fights in lightweight, middleweight, whatever way you want to shape it. Israel Adesanya is moving up to fight Jan Blachowicz for the light heavyweight championship, and he is like a minus 270 favorite as the challenger, which is just this whole thing is, there's just so much to talk about. Like besides the rest of the card, we got Peter Yan and Aljamain Sterling and Amanda Nunes and Megan Anderson.
Dude, I'm looking at the card right now. You ain't kidding. This thing is loaded. Okay.
It's absolutely insane.
It's a phenomenal card. And you're right. The prelims are great from top to bottom. I mean, when like Petr Yan, Aljo Sterling's like second, third fiddle, like it's gonna be a good one.
Joseph Benavidez versus Askar Askarov is gonna be on the prelims.
Oh yeah, dude. Dominic Cruz on the prelims.
Islam Makachev.
Yeah. It's some wild stuff, dude. This is gonna be good. Wow.
Oh,
yeah. So Al, I'll let you start us off here. What do you think of this matchup? Jan Blachowicz, Israel Adesanya.
I think that this spot is it's a dead under. That's what I think that this is. I think that Israel Adesanya is going to do I think he's going to do the same thing that he did to Paulo Costa to Jan Blachowicz. I think that Jan Blachowicz is, a lot smarter of a fighter, but I think that this is a really rare thing because Izzy is moving up as the challenger, but he's doing so as the betting favorite, and he's moving up because he thinks that Jan is beatable, right? He wouldn't be doing this if he thought that it was going to be an incredibly hard fight for him, right? This is a business move because, the lightweight belt, the lightweight division in the UFC since John Jones has moved on, it's kind of up in the air, and that's not taking anything away from Jan Blachowicz and what he's done. But, the guy that he beat to get to the title shot that he got isn't even in the UFC anymore. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Izzy, this is a business opportunity, and he sees it as the weakest link now has the title. I'm going to take it. So we have to approach this completely differently, because if you go back and look at how he fought Romero, which will be interesting, this will be 1 year to the day that he fought Yoel Romero, the last card in the pre-COVID era of the UFC. And he said after that fight, like, I'm the champion. I'm not going to, if guys want the belt, they have to come and take it. I know how to fight these guys from the outside. I'm the best evader in the sport. I'm going to, sit outside. And yeah, if it takes a 5-round decision to defend my belt, I'm going to do it, because why am I going to go out there and put my chin out there to get knocked out by Yoel Romero? And he showed that against Costa. But now let's think about this. He's coming in as the challenger, right? So he's going to be the one. He's not going in there to defend no belt. He's going in there and he's going to close this fight. And I wouldn't be shocked if he wins it in the first round, because he's going to go out there. I don't think he's in the game plan. This is his first of many moves. And, I don't want to discount Jan Blachowicz, but I think Israel Adesanya is just, I don't think he's going to have an answer at all. And I think that he's going to blow through him, and it's just going to be a matter of when and not if. And I think, I think first or second round, like if this under the total comes out, if the total is, I see it now, the number doesn't really make sense. The total is sitting at 2.5 rounds minus 150. Like if the under at plus 110, this fight is not going to see the third round. I don't think. I think Israel Adesanya is going to finish Jan Blachowicz in spectacular fashion. And that's my read on it. I think that he's Izzy is a very, very smart fighter, and it took seeing him how to react as a champion. Now think about how he's going to react as the challenger again, right? Mm-hmm. So that's gonna change everything, I think, and I think he's going to knock out Blachowicz within 2 rounds. I think.
Sure.
What do you think?
Oh, Al, dude, this fight is crazy. Okay, let me tell you something. Adesanya, right? Trying to be the champ, trademark Conor McGregor, right? Which is a phenomenon we've seen pick up steam in the last 2 or 3 years in the UFC. It's a very marketable aspect for a guy to be able to get his picture taken with a belt over one shoulder and a belt over the other. Eventually, one of these guys is going to be like Tom Brady, 7 divisions, 7 belts, right? Not possible. So, Al, here's what's crazy about this fight. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know how to put this other than this fight will be unlike any fight in UFC history, okay?
Yeah.
Here's why. There is an aspect of this fight that will put a question mark, an exponent, a mystery box with a question mark on it into this whole fight, and it is a factor that no one's ever dealt with breaking down a UFC fight. And on this show right now today, I am gonna get to bring this to the world, okay? Because I've been wanting to say this for a long time. But here's a factor I don't see anyone talking about as of yet, and I'm going to open Pandora's box right now for everybody. Israel Adesanya, the 185-pound champion of the world, okay? We've seen him come in multiple times weighing in at 183 and 184 pounds. Now, 184 point whatever pounds, that's nothing shocking. But let me tell you something. Israel Adesanya weighing in at 183 pounds for a 185-pound title fight does not mean Israel Adesanya weighs 205, 210 pounds and cuts weight, dehydrates himself down to 185 and accidentally miscalculated and overshot and cut an extra pound or two of water weight. When Israel Adesanya weighs in at 183 pounds for a 185-pound title fight, that means Israel Adesanya cuts no weight.
Yeah.
And Israel Adesanya right now, today, wherever he is in New Zealand, I bet the man weighs 183 pounds, okay? This is a guy who is not cutting weight to make middleweight, okay? This is a guy now moving up to a division 20 pounds heavier, 205, going up against a guy, Jan Blachowicz, who would fight comfortably at heavyweight, okay? Because I'm going to tell you right now, Jan Blachowicz cuts to 205. Jan Blachowicz on fight night weighs at minimum 225 pounds, maybe 230, okay? Jan Blachowicz going into a fight camp probably weighs 250 pounds, okay? What I'm saying is you're going to see Israel Adesanya get on the scale for this championship fight, and I bet this guy's going to weigh 190 pounds tops at a fight at 205. And like I said, Jan Blachowicz is going to show up to this fight weighing 225 pounds minimum. I'm going to guarantee it, okay? We're never going to see a title fight where a guy isn't up to that division's weight, right? Theoretically, it's always been possible, but it's always been guys like a Conor McGregor who's killing himself to get to 145, who now cuts slightly less weight to make 155, right? But is still cutting weight to get there, right? And then is fighting pretty much naturally when he's up at 170. He weighed in like 168, right, for his fights at welterweight. But Adesanya is going to fight a fight for gold and not even weigh up to that weight limit. He's outright come out and said, I'm not changing physically who I am. I'm not putting on weight. I'm not changing anything. I'm just going to go into this fight as me, which makes sense because, you know, he doesn't want to put his body through adding all this muscle to fight a light heavyweight fight and then have to drop that muscle to cut down to 185 again, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Plans on having a future at 185. So what I'm saying is we're talking about a fight that's going to go off at light heavyweight. You know, we've seen big weight discrepancies at heavyweight. We've had fights where, you know, like Fedor, Dan Henderson actually had to drink water to make 206 to be eligible to fight Fedor. And he knocked him out. You know what I mean? Now, this is a long time ago in a bygone era when things were just totally different and in a totally different organization. But as far as the UFC goes, we're never going to have a challenger come in this straight up underweight to a fighting a big light heavyweight who's a big, powerful guy. Another factor, Jan Blachowicz, incredible reach. If a guy like Kelvin Gastelum, an undersized guy, has as much success touching Izzy with what, 15, 20 inches less reach than what Jan Blachowicz is going to have, it's an interesting factor. But the difference is, my man Al, the difference is speed kills, okay? Adesanya is going to be so much faster than Blachowicz. He's going to be a step ahead. All he really is going to have to do, avoid that big Polish power. But if Jan Blachowicz was smart, he uses that size, that strength, that muscle, and he pushes Izzy up against the fence. He makes this a dirty, grinding fight. But guess what? That's been the game plan all along, how to beat Izzy. Somehow this guy hypnotizes, mind games every fighter who's ever been in there with him into standing toe-to-toe and trading strikes with, yet again, I'm going to say it one more time, the greatest striker in UFC history. This man went in there against a Olympic silver medalist and that in Olympic wrestling, and the man never shot on him one time. What kind of spell does Israel Adesanya cast on these guys when he looks into their eyes that night before the fight? I don't know, but it makes everyone fight the strategically dumbest fight possible for the city kickboxing made. Israel Adesanya, I'm with you, Al. I think Israel's going to land the better shots. He's going to land more shots. He's going to be the sharper striker. He's going to take advantage of Jan Blachowicz. If he can avoid the KO power of being finished by Jan Blachowicz, and again, why is Jan Blachowicz going to be the guy that goes out there and wrestles him? I don't think he's going to. I think Jan's going to more than oblige. Adesanya style is going to stand toe to toe.
Yeah, exactly.
And is not going to go out there and do. If I were making the game plan for Jan Blachowicz, it's going to be making it dirty, using some cage, working for some takedowns. I don't see it happening. I think Izzy outpoints him. I think a KO is even on the table, you know, because we are talking about Israel Adesanya, a guy who has fought up divisions, and from a kickboxing standpoint, has even fought heavyweight. So yeah, that's not totally out of water. And yeah, I just think Izzy's better, and I see him winning the fight. Yeah, I think a finish is absolutely in the books. I got Israel Adesanya winning by KO, TKO at some point, maybe late second, third round. What do you think, Al?
Yeah, like this seems, like you said, and he brought up an excellent point. We've never seen this, right? Like in the UFC. This is a normal thing in kickboxing where he comes from. You know, like we see this all the time. Guys fighting with 40-pound discrepancy between them because one of them is so, you know, and even Israel Adesanya, that he did it. He fought at heavyweight because he knew that he would be able to knock out or to, you know, at least be able to stand with these heavyweights because, you know, he believes that he's just a better fighter. You know, it doesn't matter about the power. It matters about his ability to evade and use your power against you, right? And that's what's got him to the game. And he's done that pretty much every single time except for that one Yoel Romero fight. And then, he fought like a dog. And if you go back and look in comparison, he is not that same fighter that when he fought Calvin Gastelum. He is so much better. He is so much better than he was. Go back and look at the tape, compare that to how he fought Costa. He is just so much better. And like you said, Jan Blachowicz is, Polish power. There's nothing that's going to make him go out there and wrestle. He wants to be the guy that knocks him out. And I feel like that's why Izzy has chosen this opportunity. He's playing this like a McGregor, right? Like he's handpicking this opponent because he's going to take him out. And, it's a business opportunity because, he sees something in him that he can easily, he can easily take advantage of this. And there's no reason for us not to believe him. He's gone in there in professional fights against guys much heavier than him and has beat them. The guy that he got knocked out by weighs less than him. What's his name? Alex Pereira. He's like a 180. That guy could have fought at lightweight in glory. And he knocked out Izzy. So he's not afraid of bigger guys. He knows how to evade these guys and use their power against them, which is what he did to Costa. And he just turns them into his strikes, and he just plays this game with them. And I think that's what he's going to do with Jan. And I think I'm looking right now. Fight goes the distance. No is minus 185. That's insanity. I'm going to bet that as soon as we're done here. That's ridiculous. There's no way this fight goes the distance. There's no way. It's not happening. Izzy is either going to put on an absolute masterpiece or, like you said, the power of Jan, it's just, the law of averages. He's eventually going to hit the button. But I don't think it happens because Izzy's just that good. He's, like you said, the best. He is the best striker in history of the UFC. So, and I think all the power to Jan. He's just not even close. If they get into a stand-up battle, it's just going to be a matter of when and not if, and what round. And it would take a miracle for Jan to win this fight, and it's that simple. And I think that this is the start of something insane if Israel Adesanya wins this light heavyweight championship, because he could go and fight for the heavyweight championship after this. Who knows?
That's just where I was leading this into, right? Because first off, let me just address this one factoid, right? Which is not even a factoid. It's just something I got to put out there. If you told me in 2019 Jan Blachowicz would finish 2020 as the UFC light heavyweight champion, I would have to. I just wouldn't believe it. I would think you were on potent hallucinogenics. This is a guy that I've seen lose to some dudes that just straight up aren't that good. But it is what it is. Look at it was kind of the perfect storm, just 2020 in a nutshell.
Yeah.
When they showed a year in review at New Year's Eve, how weird and bad 2020's been, they should show Jan Blachowicz holding up John Jones's belt. You know what I mean? It's just so funky, man. I still am getting used to it. First off, I didn't think he'd beat Dominic Reyes. Goes out there, just beats the dog shit out of Dominic Reyes. I'm still surprised by that. And just even some of the fights. This is a guy who went to split decision in 2019 with Jacare Souza at 205. What are we talking about here? This is just still crazy to me, man. I don't see Jan Blachowicz being a long-reigning champion. Now, don't get me wrong. It would be pretty Jan Blachowicz-y to beat Israel Adesanya.
Oh my God.
But I don't know, man. I don't see it happening. I think, yeah, man. I think we're looking at, is Adesanya going to be our first champ? champ. Because if he beats Blachowicz, this has been a long thought out process.
Yeah.
The entire uprise of Israel Adesanya, there's always been this side story of him getting under Jon Jones' skin and irritating Jon Jones and building up to this inevitable matchup. And I guess we just need to touch on, is Jon Jones running from Israel Adesanya? Is Jon Jones moving up to the slower, more plodding heavyweights of the world to avoid that crisp lightning, incredible striking of an Israel Adesanya? I don't know, man. I'm not going to say he's running when you have a monster like Francis Ngannou waiting in the wings, but things have got so interesting, man, and this is just so crazy nowadays. Back when I first got into this sport, the thought of dudes moving around weight divisions, like outside of like BJ Penn, like that just wasn't a thing. And now it's just like the new deal, man. I get one belt, defended a couple times, I clean these suckers out. Let's get me another one. You know what I mean? But it should be a great fight, dude. But wow, what an incredibly stacked card. UFC 259. Is there anything you want to say before we wrap this up, Al?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about a little bit more about Jan Blachowicz. Do you remember? So I think it was right after after Jones beat Reyes, right? And then the fight was Corey Anderson versus Jan Blachowicz for that number one contender fight. And I think it was a fight card in Albuquerque where Blachowicz knocked out Corey Anderson in like the second round. And that's when Blachowicz and Jon Jones had that thing that was never resolved because the last time we heard from him in that resolve, he was vacating the belt, which in turn gave him the chance to fight for the vacant belt, which he won you can't call it a fluke because it wasn't a fluke. It was just one of those weird performances where Reyes just looked absolutely terrible and Jan just looked amazing, right? So there's just this whole weird path that has gotten Jan to where he is right now. And I think that Israel Adesanya is just looking at this with dollar signs, and he's just going, there's something I can take this guy easily. And this opportunity is once in a lifetime because this is a title that's been held by Jon Jones, so it just seems like this is a business plan that they're on here. And I think, this could be the UFC 259 could be the start of like a whole new era of the UFC, because we're talking about this thing about a guy fighting somebody that he knows that is much bigger than him just because of his confidence and his ability to evade that person. That's something that we see in combat sports a lot, but just not in MMA. But in kickboxing and even like in Japanese MMA, you'll see like special bouts where it's like an MMA fighter will fight a kickboxer in kickboxing rules and stuff like that. The UFC will never do that, but what we will get is these special types of matchups like this. And this is what we need, right? This is what we need to make it evolve even more, where we can get a guy who's just so talented that, what if Stipe beats Ngannou? What if we had Izzy versus Stipe or Izzy versus Ngannou?
I was just thinking that.
This is, and he would do it, he would do it. That Israel Adesanya is the future of this sport. And it's that simple. And anybody who denies it, the only person who can is really Francis Ngannou. And he's going to have a belt around his shoulder in about 2 months' time. So things are going to change. Things are changing rapidly, right? This is going to be the next month and a half in this sport is going to change things, change the whole outlook of, all these divisions are going to finally start moving from this stagnation, and it's just going to, dollar signs are going to roll in because, Izzy gets the money that Conor, Izzy gets the type of coverage that Conor used to get, right? And There's now, like how there used to be nothing like a McGregor fight, there's nothing like a Israel Adesanya fight. That the Costa fight was huge, and it wasn't what we expected. And I don't think this is going to be the same what we expect either. I think he's going to go out there and just shut Jan's lights out, and this will be the beginning of the next chapter for him. And if I'm wrong, it'll be incredible to see him get knocked out. But that's the path that the UFC is putting him on, and I think it's a good one. And I think the sky is literally the limit for this kid. And yeah, you're absolutely right. The greatest striker in UFC history, if not MMA history. So yeah, man, crazy.
Definitely.